Have you ever wondered why you've carried certain personality traits your whole life? Why you feel an immediate affinity with some ideas, places, or people, even without ever experiencing anything similar in this life? According to Buddhist spiritual teachings, our soul doesn't arrive in the world as a blank slate. It brings silent memories, deep marks, and lessons from other existences, which reveal themselves not only in our behaviors, but also in something few imagine: the last digit of our birth year. Spirituality shows us that each number has a unique vibration, a frequency that runs through our soul and influences our way of being. The last number of your birth year is not a coincidence. It's like a silent signal that connects your current life to the experiences you lived in other incarnations. This number can reveal patterns you tend to repeat, challenges you need to overcome, and gifts you already carry, often without realizing. Discovering this meaning can change the way you see yourself. In this video, we will explore, in a simple and profound way, what each of the digits from 0 to 9 can reveal about your past life, and how this knowledge can help you better understand who you are today. This dive is not about mysticism or superstition, but about self-knowledge, understanding the marks your soul carries, embracing your tendencies, and making more conscious choices with more compassion and wisdom to keep evolving. When we know our history, we understand our present better. So, take a deep breath, open your heart, and prepare to dive into this ancient knowledge. If you like content that helps you reflect on who you are, what you came here to do, and how you can evolve, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell. At the end, write in the comments which city or country you're watching from, so we can see how far this message has reached and create a beautiful chain of consciousness around the world. Before we start talking about the numbers and what the last digit of your birth year can reveal about your past life, I need to tell you something essential, something you may never have stopped to think about deeply. This is not your first life, and very likely, it won't be your last. Our existence is not limited to a single passage through this world. On the contrary, we are spiritual beings living multiple human experiences in a long and silent journey of evolution. Each life is a chapter of a much larger story, which goes far beyond what we can remember or fully understand now. When we pass from one life to another, we don't start from zero. We carry with us lessons, memories, emotional patterns, karma, what was well resolved, and also what remains pending. Thus, our soul transforms, matures, and evolves with each existence, until one day it reaches a state so full of consciousness and compassion that it no longer needs to return to this cycle. This is the great beauty and also the great mystery of our spiritual journey. We are not trapped. We are always learning, always refining ourselves. It would be very unfair to think that we have only one life to learn everything, to overcome all challenges, to be judged and then labeled as good or bad. Existence is much more complex and merciful than that. Many people are born into extremely difficult contexts, complicated families, situations of violence, poverty, or abandonment, while others arrive in this world with more favorable conditions, with more love, more opportunities, more comfort. How could we be judged the same way if the conditions are so different? It wouldn't be fair. And the answer to this apparent enigma is simple, and at the same time profound. We are not judged. We are learners. Our soul does not die. It is infinite. What dies, what stays behind, are the temporary forms, the bodies, the identities of each existence. But what is essential in us, our consciousness, our spiritual spark, continues, crosses time, spaces, bodies, carrying with it everything that was learned and everything that still needs to be healed. That's why what you live today is not a coincidence, nor a punishment. It is an opportunity, a stretch of your journey, a field of learning chosen often by your own soul, even before you were born. Yes, it may seem strange or even hard to accept, but we choose, consciously or not, many aspects of our next life, including the family we will be born into. Not out of masochism or punishment, but because we understand on a higher spiritual plane that certain experiences are necessary for our growth. And that's why many times we feel inexplicable connections with some people in our family. Perhaps you've already felt that your son or daughter is, in fact, a very ancient soul by your side, or that there is a deep affinity with your mother, your grandparents, or your grandchildren, as if you've known each other for much longer than this life allows. And probably, that's exactly it. These connections didn't start here. They are spiritual bonds that cross lives, that repeat, that transform, but that never break. So, when we talk about past lives, we're not talking only about distant events or vague memories. We're talking about who you are today, about who you relate to, about the most important bonds in your life. Your soul chose many of the experiences you live, the people you love, the challenges you face. And it's with this awareness that now, yes, we can move forward to understand what the last digit of your birth year reveals about your spiritual trajectory. Take a deep breath and let's go together. Something natural, but which can become a burden when not balanced, is your tendency towards structure and order. This pattern also manifests in the way you organize your life. You like planning. You prefer to have a schedule and feel uncomfortable with unforeseen events or sudden changes. Your soul seeks the tranquility that comes from predictability and order. Although this is an admirable quality, it can sometimes lead you to be seen as rigid, inflexible, or resistant to innovation. The great lesson here is to understand that true security lies not only in external structure, but also in the trust you develop in yourself. In relationships, those who carry the number 4 tend to be extremely loyal and committed. You probably value your word, agreements, and commitments greatly, and suffer when others do not act with the same seriousness. You may have difficulties with impulsive or disorganized people, as they seem to threaten your emotional stability. Your soul seeks to learn how to balance this need for security with the flexibility required to handle the unpredictability of life. In professional life, you typically prefer structured environments where your role and expectations are clear. You value financial stability, building assets, and having guarantees. High risks and abrupt changes make you uncomfortable, not out of fear, but because your soul seeks to create a solid foundation to build its trajectory without fearing collapse. However, this intense need for stability can sometimes prevent you from exploring new possibilities, taking risks, or accepting changes that, though initially uncomfortable, can lead to significant growth. Perhaps you've refused important opportunities out of fear of leaving your comfort zone. This is natural for those who resonate with the number 4, but it also serves as an invitation to understand that not every change means loss. Sometimes, it is exactly what your soul needs to evolve. Your presence transmits confidence to others. You are seen as someone who can be trusted, someone firm, fulfilling promises. Your soul in this life came to teach about commitment, responsibility, and solidity. But it also came to learn that even the strongest structure needs flexibility to avoid breaking. Now, moving on to the number 5. If the last digit of your birth year is 5, you probably feel an almost visceral need for freedom, movement, and new experiences. Your soul carries a restless, creative energy that cannot stand the idea of living a monotonous life tied to rigid routines or suffocating environments. You seek experiences that make you feel alive, not just existing. People with this vibration are constantly changing something: a trip, a course, a style, an environment. Others may see you as inconstant, but what moves you is not instability. It's the need to feel free to choose and transform. The fear of being trapped, limited, or controlled often guides your decisions, making you flee from situations or relationships that feel imprisoning. You may also get bored quickly without novelty or challenges. Routine can be a significant source of anguish. Your soul seeks stimulation, diversity, encounters, and discoveries. In past lives, you may have experienced significant limitations on your freedom. Now, your soul compensates by living with intensity and seizing opportunities, even if this makes you seem impulsive to others. In relationships, this search for freedom can create challenges. You may have ended relationships or distanced yourself from important people simply because the bond felt too limiting. It's not a lack of love, but for you, true love respects personal space and freedom. You seek light, genuine connections that foster growth and expansion, not those based on possession or obligation. Professionally, you are drawn to fields that offer mobility, creativity, and variety. Repetitive jobs or rigid environments can frustrate or exhaust you. Your soul wants to experiment, create, and interact with the world dynamically, even if it means sacrificing traditional stability. Your spiritual growth comes from embracing this movement as part of your nature. However, you must be cautious not to turn the search for freedom into escapism. Sometimes, fear of limitation makes you abandon valuable projects or relationships prematurely. Learning to distinguish between imprisonment and healthy commitment is a key lesson for your soul. The vibrant, creative energy of the number 5 is a gift, but also a constant invitation to reflect. Not all stability is a prison, and not all freedom brings happiness. Finding balance is your challenge and learning in this life. If the last digit of your birth year is 6, you probably feel an intense need to care for others. You may be the person who always takes responsibility for friends and loved ones, and who feels guilty when unable to help. Your soul carries a welcoming, protective energy, often putting you in the role of solver, guide, and supporter, even beyond your limits. People with this vibration are seen as reliable and responsible, often sought out for advice or a comforting presence. However, this can lead to emotional exhaustion if not balanced. Your soul may have experienced lives where care was central, perhaps as someone who cared for families or entire communities. In this existence, you feel the need to protect those around you, sometimes taking on responsibilities that are not yours or carrying the emotional weight of others' choices. In family relationships, you may have taken on supportive or mediating roles early on, especially during times of conflict. You may be the person everyone turns to in a crisis, yet find little support when you yourself need help. This can create a silent feeling of loneliness, even when surrounded by people. At work, you excel in areas where you can help, teach, or guide. You naturally resolve conflicts and foster harmonious environments. However, you must be careful not to always put others first and neglect your own needs and limits. Emotionally, you need to balance compassion with self-care. Remember, caring for others doesn't mean nullifying yourself. You deserve love and recognition, not only for what you do, but for who you are. If the last digit of your birth year is 7, you likely feel a natural need for solitude and reflection. Since childhood, you may have preferred solitary activities, books, music, deep thoughts, over noise and socializing. Your soul carries an energy that values introspection and reflection, as if it knows instinctively that life goes beyond the visible. Others may see you as reserved or distant. You might struggle to expose your emotions, not from coldness, but because you feel few can understand your inner depth. Your soul may have lived past experiences that required wisdom and discernment. Now, you feel a natural drive to seek deeper answers and question life's meaning. You may be drawn to philosophy, spirituality, science, or any field that helps you understand the world and yourself. In relationships, this introspection can create challenges. You need significant alone time to recharge, sometimes misunderstood as indifference. You may struggle with people who are too invasive or demand constant presence. Your soul needs space and freedom to process internal experiences before opening fully to others. Professionally, you thrive in fields involving analysis, research, or intellectual creation, where you can work autonomously. Noisy or overly social environments may be exhausting. Your productivity and creativity flourish when you have space to think deeply. Emotionally, those resonating with the number 7 must balance introspection with openness. Withdrawal is valuable, but life must also be experienced with lightness and surrender. Not all can be understood, and there is beauty in mystery and spontaneity. Behind your desire for solitude may be a fear of not being understood. But remember, your depth is a gift, and there are people and experiences that will welcome and value you as you are. If the last digit of your birth year is 8, you likely feel an intense need to build something solid, achieve material security, and gain recognition for your efforts. Your soul carries the energy of strength, discipline, and persistence. You see life as a journey where personal effort is the surest path to achieving your goals. Even when facing difficulties, you prefer to move forward with focus and determination. People with this vibration are often seen as strong, reliable, and perhaps controlling. Others might say you want to control everything or don't know how to relax. But what drives you is not a need for control. It is a legitimate desire to ensure stability, security, and respect. Your soul may have experienced lives where you lacked security or recognition. In this life, you strive to build firm foundations that provide not just material wealth, but a sense of lasting value and purpose. Loss, instability, or even betrayals in past experiences have shaped your soul. And in this existence, it seeks to protect itself through power and success. It's common for you to feel fulfilled when you realize that you are in command of your own life, making important decisions, taking on responsibilities, and achieving goals. You don't like the feeling of depending on others and often prefer to carry the weight of your choices alone rather than submit to the will of others. This inner strength is admirable, but it can also make you carry more than you should if you don't learn to share and trust. In the field of relationships, you can be someone very protective, doing everything to ensure the well-being of those you love, yet sometimes having difficulty showing vulnerability. You may prefer to show strength all the time, believing that this is necessary to maintain others' trust and prevent them from taking advantage of your goodwill. However, your soul also needs to learn that showing fragility is not a sign of weakness, but of humanity. In professional life, you tend to stand out in leadership positions or roles where you can clearly see the fruits of your work. You like clear goals, challenges, and competitive environments where you can prove your worth. But it's important to be careful not to turn the search for success into a burden. Your soul came to learn that material realization is important, but without balance, it can distance you from other equally essential dimensions of life, such as affection, lightness, and spirituality. Emotionally, those who carry the energy of the number 8 often demand too much of themselves, placing high standards of performance and success on their shoulders. Perhaps you've already felt that no matter how much you achieve, It's never enough, as if there's always something more to be done, another step to be reached. This is one of the great lessons of this vibration. Learning to celebrate victories, value small achievements, and realize that your strength lies not only in what you do, but also in who you are. Behind this need to build and conquer lies a deeply responsible soul that knows the value of effort and dedication, but which also needs to allow itself to rest, to trust, to enjoy. Your mission is not only to reach the top, but to learn that true power lies in balancing strength with wisdom, ambition with generosity, and success with presence. If the last digit of your birth year is 9, you probably feel from very early on a natural inclination to help others, even when no one asks. You may be that person who feels others suffering as if it were your own, who cannot ignore a need, who cares about social, environmental, or humanitarian causes. Your soul carries a deep mark of compassion, as if it is always seeking to alleviate the world's pain, offering help, presence, and comfort wherever it goes. People with this vibration usually have a heightened sensitivity that goes beyond their immediate circle. It's not just about caring for family or friends. You feel a greater call, a desire to make a difference in the world, to transform collective suffering even through small actions. Perhaps you've already participated in causes, volunteer work, or community movements, or you may simply be that person who is always ready to listen and support, even without recognition. By carrying this energy of giving, you may often feel overloaded or exhausted. Perhaps you've noticed that no matter how much you do for others, you don't always receive the same in return. This can generate frustration or a feeling of ingratitude. It's common for those who vibrate in the number 9 to need to learn to establish clear boundaries, so as not to end up nullifying themselves or living only for external demands, forgetting to take care of themselves with the same dedication they give to others. In relationships, you tend to be seen as someone reliable, generous, and always available. Many people may approach you seeking emotional support, advice, or simply comfort in your presence. Even if you don't say it aloud, you notice when someone is suffering, when they need help, when they are hiding their pain. Your soul carries a silent wisdom, as if it has learned over many lives to recognize and welcome human vulnerability. At work, you probably feel fulfilled in professions or activities that allow you to serve, help, or transform. You may stand out in areas such as health, education, social assistance, the environment, or any field where you feel that you are contributing to something greater than just your own well-being. However, it's important to be careful not to get too involved or take on responsibilities that are not yours, risking emotional burnout or illness. Emotionally, those who carry the energy of the number 9 need to learn to balance the desire to serve with the need to protect themselves. Your generosity is a rare quality, but it can also make you vulnerable to people who take advantage of your goodwill or who don't value what you offer. The great lesson here is to realize that your mission is not to save the world, but to offer what you can, with love, without sacrificing or nullifying yourself in the process. Behind this deep compassion lies an ancient soul that has already lived many significant experiences and now seeks, in this life, to fulfill a role of healing and transformation. Your presence is a silent inspiration, an example of altruism, empathy, and unconditional love. Qualities that make the world a little better simply because you are in it. Now that you've learned the meaning of each number, perhaps you've realized that certain characteristics of yours, which before seemed like mere personality traits, are in fact deep marks of your soul, accumulated over many existences. What you feel, the way you act, the choices you repeat, all of this carries a history that goes far beyond this life. Understanding this movement is more than a curiosity. It's an opportunity to look at yourself with more compassion. accepting not only your strengths, but also your vulnerabilities. It's important to remember that there is no better or worse number. Each vibration carries challenges and potentials, lessons and obstacles. Some numbers bring the need to take more care of oneself. Others ask for more surrender to the collective. Some ask for movement. Others ask for stability. But all, without exception, are legitimate expressions of the human experience. What matters above all is how you choose to relate to this energy, how you decide to welcome or transform what your soul already carries. Perhaps, upon hearing about your number, you felt emotional or recognized patterns you had never named or understood, realizing for the first time why certain situations repeat in your life. This is the power of self-knowledge. It doesn't necessarily change who we are, but it allows us to live with more consciousness, more presence, and more freedom. When we understand where we come from, we manage to make choices more aligned with who we want to be from now on, interrupting cycles of pain and deepening paths of fulfillment and peace. So take this knowledge with you, not as an immutable rule, but as a map, a guide that can help you navigate your journey with more clarity and courage. Your soul chose to be here, now, living exactly this experience, with this number, with these challenges, and these gifts. And from this understanding, you can move forward with more serenity, knowing that everything is part of your path of evolution, and that with each step, you get even closer to who you really are. If this content touched you in some way, if throughout this video, you managed to recognize yourself, to welcome yourself, and perhaps even get emotional upon realizing how much your soul carries deep stories, then I invite you with affection to leave your like. This simple gesture is not just a way to support our work, but also a symbolic way to affirm, I recognize my trajectory, I accept who I am. This video was made with the intention of offering clarity, comfort, and inspiration to those who, like you, seek to understand themselves better. Also, take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. Here, we continue together, deepening themes such as spirituality, self-knowledge, human relationships, and soul evolution. Each video is an opportunity to go further, to look within, to expand your consciousness, and above all, to realize that you are not alone in this journey. There are many other people, scattered around the world, who are also searching for answers, for peace, and for meaning. Speaking of being connected, I really want to know where you are watching us from. Write in the comments your city and country, and share with us a bit of your path. This way, we can see how far this message has reached, creating a beautiful chain of consciousness, presence, and humanity. If you know someone who needs to hear this content, share this video. It may be exactly what that person needs to better understand their own history and move forward with more serenity. Finally, I thank you deeply for being here, for dedicating your time and your attention to this moment of reflection and self-knowledge. Always remember, your soul carries a unique history, full of wisdom, experiences, and potentials that are still revealing themselves. Keep honoring yourself, keep knowing yourself, and never stop seeking what makes sense to you. Until the next video, and may your walk always be guided by the light of consciousness and by love for your own trajectory.